All right, we're live now for the Gamers Talking Mid-Year Stream 2019. I'm joined once again by Peter.
Hello.
Wombat.
Good morning.
And the guy that ruined my intro last time by not getting my joke. It was Scott.
Leave it to me to fuck things up. What can I say?
I'm never going to forget that. Just me trying to be funny and you sitting going, huh?
No, I was totally lost. Hopefully, I'm not nearly as bad today, but like I told you before we started, I'm struggling a little bit. So,
nah, we're doing fine.
They think I'm slow, but I'm just Canadian, eh?
All right. So we've got a few interesting topics to cover on this stream, and there are going to be some good ones in here. So we'll jump right into it with a good one to start with, and that's, of course, the slow but steady storm that is the Epic Games Store on PC. This come across to me as a very aggressive attempt to get titles under its belt and essentially piss off a lot of consumers at the same time by getting a lot of exclusives to the store. But at the same time, I'm not on PC. You guys are. What did you make of this?
It's essentially Epic trying to buy it's get established and buy a customer base by locking stuff behind an exclusive store. And the thing is, I am against store exclusivity, regardless of whether it's Steam, Epic, GOG, whatever else. I want titles to be in as many stores as possible to give consumers choice. So it's clear that let's call it what it is. Tencent are bankrolling Epic's, basically just trying to get.
Well, is it Tencent or is it Fortnite? Because Epic's made a ton of money off of Fortnite. So.
Well, it's also Tencent, right? Because
Tencent owned Fortnite. Yeah. Got to remember this. Tencent owned Fortnite first.
Did they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tencent. Yeah, well, they don't own Epic, but they've got essentially a controlling stake in Epic. Yeah. And it's Tencent who has the vested interest in basically trying to get a customer base. And by just throwing around money, getting all these titles locked behind Epic Store.
Yeah, because to name a couple of titles here, obviously Metro Exodus, Borderlands 3, The Division 2, and Rocket League, which will soon be removed from Steam, are going to be exclusives at least for a year, I think, in some cases.
I mean, but you can get Exodus on Xbox and PlayStation also, so it's there. You know what? Here's the thing, though.
Yes, you can get them on console, but this is all about a ridiculous PC exclusivity.
Right.
And locking down. And yes, every single contract is for a year of exclusivity.
Right. Okay. But here's the thing that you got to look at. This has been going on since consoles and gaming has been.
Yeah.
Nintendo has their walled-off garden. Xbox has Microsoft has their walled-off garden, which is something we should probably talk about at some point because they're bringing the walls down quite a bit, which is kind of a shock. Sony has their walled-off garden too. Everybody does this. They have the things that sell the thing that they want to get you involved in to get you into their ecosystem. Be it what the hell is Nathan Drake game? What is that game? Uncharted on Sony, on Sony, Halo on Xbox,
I need
Mario
to
on Nintendo, so on and so forth.
But those games you just mentioned are actually designed by companies that belong to those platforms.
Yeah, they're first party games.
Yeah.
Exactly, but which was I was eventually getting to was that no, it's fine. No. I mean, it's part of the discussion. We talk ebbs and flows. Epic is like Wombat was saying. It's like they're shelling out all this money, and something that's kind of analogous to this is when sports teams buy a whole bunch of high caliber players to get people into their ecosystem to win a championship and to really get out there and like, boom, look at us, and that's kind of what they're doing right now. And it makes sense because, I mean, here's the thing though, too. It's like, if Epic just came crawling out the door with not a whole lot of anything exciting, people are just going to be like, oh, hey, it's just another launcher. But if they're going after this stuff and they're being really aggressive, they're kind of setting a tone. They're like, hey, we're trying to do something really great here. And like they did the thing with their sale where they're doing like
that went well.
And well, I mean, there have been some hiccups. I'm not saying they've done everything perfectly, obviously.
Oh no, they weren't just hiccups. That was an absolute failure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but here's the thing though. It's like they're giving they're doing like a 50% off sale, but then they're giving you an additional $10 off that they're covering on games. And it's just like you can get some pretty damn good deals.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I mean,
if you buy more than one game within an hour, they'll kill your account.
Well, yeah, that was a big fuck up. That was a big fuck
up. Lots and lots of these games I could buy, but if you buy more than one within a certain time frame, they'll basically delete your account and delete everything you bought and won't pay you back a red cent.
Because you also got to look at the way the store launched, because it launched essentially with no cloud saves, achievements, wish lists, mod support, user reviews, or forums. And like, what the hell?
Well, neither did Steam. I mean,
but there's no excuse.
There's no excuse.
No, it absolutely is though, because it's like
not this day and age to be this bad. Because even GOG didn't release anywhere near this bad.
See, I don't. I think it is. I think it is a perfectly valid excuse. Honestly, I think, they're building. They're coming out with the. Their main focus is on the games. They're trying to get people involved with the games.
No, it's not.
Oh, come on.
Really? No. In their own words, they're about developers first, customers and gamers second.
Yeah, they're making.
Cat.
Well, I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one, but
their very practice is incredibly underhanded, incredibly anti-consumer, because considering all the problems they've had, all the security problems they've had, and essentially blamed the users for, where people have lost hundreds of dollars, lost thousands of dollars because of breach of security, which they still have not really fixed. Okay. And their general attitude towards their own customers is like, oh, whoopsies. Oh, okay, so you're going to fix this? What?
Well, hey, I didn't say this. Well, and again, if you're talking about breaches in security, I mean, how many times has fucking Steam over the last 20 years or whatever it's been had their shit fucking just broken?
I will argue that. No.
Ooh, okay,
right.
Go on.
But my point is, if you're going to launch a competitor to Steam in this day and age, you need to be at least as good as Steam, right, in terms of feature set, right? But I will argue. I will argue that security point as well. Steam has not had breaches where they have emailed other people's user data, for example,
that's true. That's true. Yeah. No,
right.
Absolutely.
Steam has not had
problems. They have had problems in the past.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Okay. No, they haven't. Steam has not had major breaches.
Sure, they did. It's like, oh my god.
When? I will look this up. I will actually argue this point because nothing actually jumps to mind.
I want to say the last time it happened, God, what's it? It's probably been like 2012, maybe further back than that. They had, if I'm not mistaken, they had a fairly large security breach where they actually lost some payment information and stuff.
Yeah, but hang on, losing payment information versus sending it to random third parties by accident due to shitty hang on, let me have a look.
Or again, even amongst your own users, basically sending one user some other user's entire information library.
Yeah.
And not following up.
Well, what about the time where, well, actually just recently, it's been probably a handful of years ago, the thing that Steam where was during one of the sales, you could see other people's full accounts. Like, do you guys remember that? Because I was seeing people's full accounts, and I had access to people's full accounts by going into signing into Steam on my own.
Okay.
Again, I'm looking at it. The last time Steam was compromised was 2011, that I can publicly find with just 5 minutes worth of Google foo, right?
No, this was probably about 4 years ago. I think
not finding it.
I think it's been anyway, within the last.
Okay, we can. But even then, I would argue that if you're going to be releasing a Steam competitor, you need to at least compete feature wise with Steam, right? And
at least in very basic terms, and most importantly, for anyone that does this level of money handling, have your security down pat before you even release. Have at least that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Secure it as best you can.
When I look at it, though, I'm like, well, what games do they have and how much do they cost? Those are my two concerns. I don't care about reviews and all this other horse shit. I don't give a fuck. I want games and I want to.
What about returns? What about if you buy a game?
We don't have that here. You guys have that.
Advertised.
No.
Well, we don't have returns on digital products here in the US.
Shall we move on to another one?
Well, technically, actually, Steam allows for returns within a certain day.
Oh, within 2 hours. You get a 2-hour break.
It's either a certain number of hours of play or a certain number of days. Which one ever comes first?
2 hours and 14 days, I think it is.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
They do actually allow returns.
But I mean, but once you download the game, or once it's under certain circumstances though. It's not like you can't play the game for like 15 hours or whatever, and then send it back. You can't.
It's fine, but again, if you get the game and it's a broken, buggy mess, you can return it. You can't do that.
Say if you buy a game right at the bat and the game won't even load, it's that crap. You can. That has happened. That has happened on Steam. There has been games that have managed to weasel through because of how lax they were and still kind of are with their green light system. That would crash on load, and nothing would fix them. And with that, when people proved it, Steam's gone, here's your money back, and no questions asked.
Anyway, move on.
All right. So this next one's an interesting one, if not a slightly bizarre one, given the nature of it, and that's the amount of censorship Sony has been applying to the release of games from Japan and China.
And I would argue selective censorship. Yeah. Japan, China. Yeah.
Now I've got some examples here. I'm just to make sure I don't mispronounce some of these titles. Omega Labyrinth Z, XC. Oh, that's the publisher. Saren Kagura Burst Ari Newell, and Nekapara, Nora Princess, and Stray Cat Heart, which is ironic because you've got a cat wandering around in your background there. And even Devil May Cry 5 had scenes of nudity censored on the Sony platform, whilst on other platforms, including the Switch, they were not touched. And it's bizarre to look at.
It's because Sony moved their headquarters to California. Their gaming headquarters. No, I'm not even kidding. That's what it is.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did. Their gaming headquarters is now run out of San Francisco, and everyone, as soon as that happened, this censorship shit came down, and it's essentially a cultural. It's the rainbow hairs again, right? And the thing is that and this is them not liking the fact that Japanese developers will not bend the knee and kiss the ring. when it in regards to this, right? Which is why, and it's also this cultural clash between that crowd, the rainbow hair crowd in California and Japan, and the fact that a lot of consumers are going, no, we like the Japanese stuff, we don't care about, oh no, there is boobs, oh no, there is butt, meh, right? We don't care about that, but
Considering they literally have festivals regarding vaginas and penises.
Right? Again, but you've just got this whole the rainbow hair crowd. If men like it, it must be censored. Right? Attractive women must be censored. Yet at the same time, one of the games that was announced at E3, I'm trying to remember what it was. They've got one of the characters there. They were complaining. They were making the comparison between Tifa. In Final Fantasy, they basically toned her down to put leggings on her, gave her, boy shorts, so when she's kicking people, you're not seeing pants, so etc. etc. Yet at the same time, they had this character. I'm trying to remember the name of the game. The character is Buttercup, and she looks like someone who gets winded getting out of bed in the morning. Right? Pink hair, looks like it's not Buttercup, it's Butterbucket. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, the silly 50s styled pink hair, the cleavage basically falling out. Yet everyone else, they have to put a t-shirt on, they have to cover up, they can't hear any little tiny bit of cleavage because look at the children. Or the gamers who might touch themselves.
It's funny that you said think of the children, because I was going to make a point about this. This is something that I always find very, very funny, is that most of these games, and I'm not saying all of them, but most of these games are adult-rated games, and kids shouldn't be buying them or playing them in the first place.
But
and we've already established this through the ESRB,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
a
but
non-issue
the
that they're turning into. No, I know, but I get it. Believe me, I get it. But but like I was saying though, we've already dealt with this issue, and yet these motherfuckers still want to bring this stuff up. It's just like, we're adults. These games are made for adults. We can make our own choices. We don't need to make them for us.
But think of the quote unquote think of the children thing is it's bullshit, and we all know it. It's the man-hating feminist crowd who going, men, if men enjoy it, it gets censored. And again, I'm seeing so many of various people who either don't, are refusing to admit it, or don't want to get it. I'm like, no, this is the, and I will flat out say it. It's the man-hating feminist crowd and people who enable them. Basically, if guys, if it's an attractive
enable
woman,
or capitulate to them.
Both, right?
Enabling
basically
by capitulation.
Oh, it's Goonie Beardman looking for head pats, right? Don't worry, my lady. We will censor those again, just think the standard games journal, the picture of the games journalist who's hiding from boobies on screen. Like, no, I can't see that. Or Saint Anita will punish me. Oh, punish me.
Who was it that actually? Who was it? The one that was it? Arthur Geist that actually did that?
Yeah, that was Patrick Klepek.
Yes,
Patrick Klepek. Yeah.
It was, but I think Geist was actually wasn't he one of the ones that was like, oh, we shouldn't be seeing this kind of stuff. And then there was like people found his profile on Model Mayhem or some other place that, where he's just like lusting at just totally thirsting after these fucking like 3/4 naked women and all that kind of stuff. It's like, wow.
But the funny thing is, like Scott's nailed this on the head, because obviously these games are rated for adults, and obviously they're censored on PlayStation, but it just boggles my mind that they get to Nintendo uncensored, and the Switch is advertised as a family-friendly console. Like, okay,
because Nintendo's still run by the Japanese, whereas Sony Games is run by the Rainbow Hairs in California.
Also, what I find the most ridiculous is their censorship makes it actually that much more naughty looking than the original images.
Yeah,
because all those ridiculous light beams take it from a case of, oh, there's a girl laying down at a bed who's basically wearing boy shorts and a tank top.
Yeah.
Now you've put over those light beams, it looks like she's butt naked.
Yeah, and funny enough, a Sony spokesman was asked for a comment on this, and she says, and I quote, the platform established its own guidelines so that creators can offer well-balanced content on the platform that does not inhibit the sound growth and development of young people. And when
you don't want to see the hand motion I'm making right now.
Yeah, and when she was asked to go into detail on these guidelines, she declined.
Yeah, and they will not. And developers and everyone else has got to the same thing. It's like, give us clear, well-defined list of what's good, what is and is not acceptable. Sony won't do it. And internal stuff that got leaked, basically, says they deliberately don't want to define it because it means that they can basically arbitrarily punish developers they don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they set it in stone, there's no way for them to kind of wiggle around and be like, oh, wait, no, we meant this. Yeah. Oh, no, we meant that. Oh, no, we meant that. It's like if they say, well, this, and this, then they can't do that. They can't, they've got no wiggle room.
Yeah.
So they paint themselves in a corner at that point.
Well, yeah, again, that they want poorly defined, vague stuff that's not committed on paper anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's this standard social justice thing. It's poorly defined rules that are enforced selectively. Right? It comes down to we're worried about the development of children. Oh, well, okay, fine. So you're going to be censoring all the horrific gore in Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because that happened with Nintendo, didn't it? They censored the gore in the very first one. And then everyone bought the Mega Drive version, which you could get the gore in. So when the second one came out, they let it in. I remember that. It was funny as hell.
Yeah, because back then that was a brand new thing to have a game of that level of gore, like nothing like it had been done before. Like there'd been gore, but it'd been sort of really cartoony, silly looking gore. Whereas this game is like, no, we're pretty much bringing it as close to real as such as these pixels will allow us.
It also reminded me of what happened before the last Grand Theft Auto was released, because apparently consumer groups had written to Rockstar and said, you need to take a lot of your violence out of this game because kids do play it, and Rockstar just completely ignored them.
Yeah,
as you should.
And
again, ESRB rating It's like, yep, parents be parents.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right, so on to the next topic then, and one that's essentially a staple on these streams now, and that's, of course, crowdfunded games. We got an update on the Zoe Quinn game, kickstarted in the butt. The developer, if you can call it that, revealed in an update on Twitter that the money had run out, and I quote, a long time ago. And
yes, it was spent on a Japanese holiday and a boob job.
She got a
And
she got a job to start calling out debt so she could finish it. Yeah, who saw that coming?
That was a shocker.
Yeah, this is the reason why I stopped backing crowdfunded games years ago. I just won't do it anymore because I can't trust that platform.
Yeah,
well,
and
when you look at things like Shenmue 3, it's like
exactly. I'm about to mention that. I'm about to mention it.
Yeah, you get these games where these companies that have these long-running associations with major publishers are kickstarting games, and it's like they'll go through and get the money on Kickstarter, but then they'll be like, "Oh, guess what? We just secured funding from Sony. Oh, that's fucking crazy!"
And it's now Epic Store exclusive.
Yeah,
or something like that happens.
Yeah, but of course, the fact that people just haven't woken up that people like Quinn, you don't give your money to.
Well, Quinn is a different thing altogether. She's a grift. Yeah. She saw a place for her to make money off of stupid people. She saw how easy it was, and she took full. I mean, I got to give her credit on that count, if nothing else. She's a lousy fucking person, but she's smart in that regard. She played.
No, you can't hate the scorpion for its nature.
No.
Yeah, seriously.
Because obviously at one point on her Patreon, she was pulling in $4,500 a month. And now I think it's less than half of that what she pulls in now.
Good. Serves her right. She's a talentless hack. She'll fade away into obscurity. Nobody will care what she does.
Yeah. And of course, as Scott's mentioned it, Shenmue 3, despite raising around $7 million, the publisher who they went through signed an exclusivity deal with Epic Games.
And it's not even a timed one. It's a complete.
It's a complete one, and it pissed off the community. Which Kickstarter, they had their comment section flooded with criticism and request for a refund, which they denied.
And that's what's pissing the fans off the most, because the others in the past that have done some sort of thing like that, they have actually turned around and gone, here's a Steam key or a GOG key or something to say that you still get what you paid for. And if you don't like it, we'll give you your money in. If you're still not happy, we will go through and give you your money back.
Yeah.
And in this case, they're basically cut off they're basically going, nope, no Steam keys, no nothing. And if you don't like it, well, we may give you an Epic key, but it won't be for everything you paid for.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think the bone of contention was that when they set up the Kickstarter for it, they said on PC. They didn't set a specific platform.
No. They had Steam. No, they had Steam.
They specified Steam.
Yes.
Okay, because
on all their paperwork and on all their advertising stuff, it specified Steam.
Okay, because I was watching a story about this on a news thing on YouTube the other day, and the guy had tweeted about it, saying that we didn't specify a platform, we just said PC.
And the community called them on it with bullshit. Going, look, here's screen caps. No, but again, the thing is they have kind of screwed themselves because they're based in the EU and they are subject to EU consumer law, and so everyone's going, well, we will be getting our money back one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right. Because in the EU, they have a generalized consumer law that it's a case of if you cannot deliver the product you promised in full, or at least in part, you must give a either partial or full refund. Right. They're not offering any of that.
You know what the thing is too, though? The thing
that they're technically committing consumer fraud.
Right.
Well, not technically, they are committing consumer fraud.
The thing that really surprises me about it, though, is like Shenmue. I cannot for any moment imagine that game has so much of a draw that it would be able to, no matter how beloved it is in the game community, that it has so much draw that it's going to be able to make all its money on a single platform.
I'm with Scott on this because a friend of mine a long time ago, he had the Dreamcast. And he wanted to show me Shenmue. It was 1 or 2, whichever. I can't remember which one it was. And he showed me in it, and he goes, "This is awesome, right?" And I'm watching it, and the gameplay, along with the dialogue. I'm thinking, dude, this is shit.
Yeah.
And I can't understand how it's achieved such a legendary status. But again, I've never properly played it, so perhaps my opinion isn't the best.
No, your opinion's right on course, dude. Because I got it like I was recommended it very highly. Like, oh, you got check out Shenmue, man. It's a great game. Oh, it's so good. And I'm like, I'm literally running around talking to people.
Yeah,
that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know where this is? Don't come near me, young man. I don't like boys. What? What is this? It's like grumpy old Japanese bitches everywhere. It's like, it's fucking. Oh man, please. That game
honestly, I've tried it. I've seen all the previous Shenmue games, and I've tried to understand what's so appealing about them, and I've kind of not really got it. I've just sort of gone with the whole it's a niche market thing. There's certain people out there who clearly love this, hence why it's got sequels.
Yeah. We've got one more crowdfunding game to talk about, and I know Walmart's going to enjoy this one. Despite being labelled as sci-fi porn and the kinky Mass Effect, it's a game called Subversive.
Get it right.
Subvert. Oh, shut up, mum.
Jesus Christ, not even a good nerd. God.
Subverse, advertised as a wacky galaxy full of hot alien babes and kinky sci-fi RPG mashup. The game was asking for 100,000. This is in pounds, by the way, because this is where I got the information from. 100,000 pounds.
Well,
to be funded.
based in the UK. So.
Yeah, but he ended up with just over 1.6 million pounds. How about that?
Million pounds.
Yeah, million pounds. I put the emphasis there. It's almost like there's a market for this thing.
What, sex sells? I don't
know.
No, Justin, come on now. That's a bridge too far, friend. Please. I don't know if I can get on board with this.
For the Americans out there, it translates 1.6 pounds sterling translate to about just over 2.01 million US dollars.
Yeah. So fair play to them, because I think a lot of people were out there hoping that this game would fail.
Well, you know what though? Here's the thing. I hope it doesn't. Here's the thing. I don't really care about the game, but I hope it doesn't end up suffering from feature creep. I hope they keep that.
No, and hang on. I will put on my project manager hat here and also give props to the guys who are doing it. Yeah. They had their stretch goal, but after a certain point, once they just keep heading their stretch goals, right? Yeah. But after a certain point, they went, fine, we're not going to put any more stretch goals in. We're going to put this money into a oh shit chest.
Mm-hmm.
Is it basically in project management? You call that the contingency fund,
right? Yeah.
That for additional development, delay, just basically just in case rainy day fund.
Yeah,
which
anything,
is exactly
any bump in the road.
Yeah, right. Which is exactly what you should do. So it looks like that they have a very good team managing their shit.
Yeah.
Well, then good for them.
Great. I hope it succeeds just because it puts the shits up various social justice crowd who bloody hate. They were just. I also hope it puts the shits up the buddy, what's it? The one that keeps getting kickstarted and still hasn't released. Chris Roberts' Mob.
Yeah. Is that ever going to come out at this point?
No, it's like they've raised nearly 200 million, and they still have a technical alpha at best, and no release date.
That's amazing. You know, I'm of the mindset of this. I've been playing games since they literally existed. Video games since they existed. Like the very first game I ever played was at my aunt's house in 1970, whatever the fuck it was, and I played Pong on a Pong console.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen games evolve and grow and turn into what they are today, and just like anything else, I think art is a wonderful thing, and it comes in different shapes and sizes, and I apply the same logic to games that I do to pretty much everything else. In that, as long as you're not fucking kids, do whatever you want.
So reset era, just go, stay away.
Yeah.
So just if this is the game that they're making and they found their audience and their audience is happy about it and they're not fucking kids, go for it, man. Fucking live out your wildest sexual alien fantasies with whatever, and fuck your blue tentacle lady or your blue tentacle dude. And
well, actually, apparently, the most popular waifu at the moment is actually the doctor, because a lot of people are going, those glasses. It's like those glasses, the science.
But here's the science. But here's
All
the thing about this: that this actually speaks to something that's one of the very few positive things about the internet that I can really think about, is that the internet has given people a voice. And granted, a lot of people that are talking on the internet should be shut the fuck up because they're not saying anything good. But what this does is this allows people that are making art to connect with an audience that wants to consume their art. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's fantastic.
The market. But well, the funny thing is also to counter, you'll have, this is just for the male gaze, blah, blah, blah. I'm hang on. But with all, I know a bunch of girls who are, to use their own words, aggressively bisexual, and I've shown them the Subverse stuff, and they're like, "Ooh, my waifus." Ooh. They're totally into it as well.
Yeah.
So
I've got a bunch of lesbian friends that love shit like that.
Yeah. Even straight women are into that stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They may not say it, but they are.
Yeah, it's amazing that when this stuff's reported, the bisexuals, the lesbians, even the straights of lights, they're never mentioned. It's all the
because they're not, again, because they're going off the reservation.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're to use a very un-PC term, they're being Uncle Toms, basically.
Yeah.
People don't want to say that because it's not politically correct, but that is essentially what's happening. It's like, you're going against the narrative. You're doing the thing that, we're going to get in trouble for this. It's like, come on now.
All right.
As long as you're not fucking kids, it's cool, man.
Yeah. So on to the next one then, which is, of course, E3 this year. I've got 3 topics of my own to mention for this, and obviously if anyone wants to chip in anything else, feel free. The first one to get out of the way, one about this is for you, obviously. Cyberpunk 2077 finally has a release date of April next year.
Sexual wombat noises, yes. Upgrade me, Daddy, I'm ready.
And the cherry on the cake was right at the end of the trailer where you see that Keanu Reeves is in it.
That was so good.
Yeah, I love the bit where he's on stage talking.
Gaming squee around the world.
And he does that bit where he says, it's going to be breathtaking. And that dude shouts out, you're breathtaking.
No, you're breathtaking.
Yeah, no, you're breathtaking. You are breathtaking. It was a fantastic moment. And I thought, brilliant. And the game, the trailer at least, looks solid. It's actually, I think it would be the first game that I've pre-order.
Don't pre-order, dude. Don't pre-order.
I'm tempted.
I'll admit it. I have actually broken my own pre-order rule.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
I've been that. I'm being this. I am being that guy.
It's finally coming now, so we can all look forward to it. Yeah. And again, Wombat, there you go. Your balls will be less blue now, hopefully. Yeah. And this next one is here purely for a laugh.
Hang on, just before we move on from the Cyberpunk one, I do want to have a laugh at the sheer amount of salt that certain communities are throwing at CD Projekt Red over the in-game advertisement where you've got a girl with penis.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Yeah.
We want representation. Okay, here you go. Not like that.
Yeah. It's representation on their terms, and that's what I don't like. Either take it this way or don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing, though. Too, it's just like we live in this crazy world where a heterosexual white male can't portray other people in my art because I am not those people, and that's the kind of thinking that's become so pervasive. But see, that's the thing. It's like I have to imagine that this is just it's a small minority who's really fucking loud because.
Well, do you want to hear the funny thing? The piece of art that they're whining about was actually done by a trans person.
Was it really? There you go.
The artist themselves is trans, yet they still,
You know what I'm saying? There's a contingent of people out there that want to be like, well, you aren't black, so you can't write a black character, and you aren't a woman, so you can't write female characters. It's like, get
exactly.
What's even funnier is that once it's revealed, the person they're going, oh, you're not X, so you can't do Y. And they're like, well, they actually are X.
Yeah.
Still can't do Y.
No. Unacceptable.
And the next one I put in here just for a laugh. Tim Schafer made an appearance and revealed that Double Fine had been bought out by Microsoft.
I got some hot opinions on this one.
Yeah. I'll say one part of it now, and that's good luck with that one, guys, before I let Scott go off on one.
Oh no, hang on! I've just got one thing I'm going to say before Scott, and then Scott can go off like a frog in a sock. Yeah, look, like it was funny last weekend. I met a girl who treats me like Tim Schafer treats his investors. I have never been that shagged in my life.
Go on, Scott. Off you go.
Oh man! All right, my general disdain for Tim Schafer aside, I think this is hilarious on a lot of levels that nobody seems to be talking about, because this is just another example of Tim Schafer mismanaging money and needing somebody to bail his ass out.
Yeah.
Holy shit. When they came out, I was like, oh my God, Microsoft is really going to pick up the bill for this schmuck. I was like, I thought he started embezzling people through his Fig crowdfunding platform nonsense. Where the fuck did that go? No fucking where. It's just, I just thought this was the funniest fucking thing ever. It's just like, this guy, I'll give him credit. He's tenacious and he can apparently talk a good game because he's tricking people into fucking backing him. And Microsoft, it's just like, holy shit, this dude just will not go away. I just think it's hilarious though. This guy has mismanaged the fuck out of everything, and he's needing Microsoft to bail him out now. It's fucking
Psychonauts is about 2 years late, isn't it? Am I right?
At least.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say something really unpopular.
Go on.
I didn't like Psychonauts. I thought it was boring. Fucking.
So the funny thing about Schafer, and I'll say this before we move on to the next one of mine, is the best way to sum him up is a quote that I've got here from Bobby Kotick. And I love this. I'll read it in its entirety. The guy comes out and says, I'm a prick. I've never met him in my life. I've never had anything to do with him. I've never had any involvement in the Vivendi project they were doing at the time, Brutal Legend. Other than I was in one meeting where the guys looked at it and said, he's late, he's missed every milestone, he's overspent the budget, and it doesn't seem like a good game. We're going to cancel it. You know what? That seemed like the sensible thing to do. And as it turns out, he was late, he missed every milestone, and the game was not a particularly good game. There you go.
Yep. That's Tim Schafer in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
And the final one of my choice for E3 before you guys jump in is part of the Bethesda appearance. First of all, the Elder Scrolls Blades release for the Switch, which looked fucking terrible because essentially it's a mobile port with lots of waiting around and microtransactions. And then the other part of the presentation, which is to reveal what was coming to Fallout 76 in the next update, such as new main quests, choice and consequence, and the return of human NPCs, stuff that should have been in the game to the fucking begin with.
And as people have already joked about, so it was early access game for a year.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm putting Bethesda is very quickly falling into my basket of I'm done with you.
Yeah, I just can't. They literally added themselves to a list of companies I don't trust anymore.
No, and you find the common, and we'll get to this when we start talking. We'll get to this when we start talking about crunch culture and the rest of it in companies. Yeah. The common denominator amongst all these AAAs who are just pooping out these titles is that they all seem to be ones who are publicly traded and a majority of their shares not owned by themselves. So they're just getting constantly poked by Wall Street going, release. You know, we want quarterly numbers.
Yeah.
Yep. Why aren't you Tencent? Why aren't you making a 30% profit on a $6 billion turnover? Why be more like Tencent? That's what it is.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chip in anything that they want to talk about from E3 before we go on?
I would like to talk about something actually. I would like to talk about two things. I'll try and be brief. Yeah. I want to talk about Stadia.
Okay.
Stadia is something I think we could probably do an entire show on, honestly.
Okay.
So I'll try and
yes, network engineering me definitely wants to do that because it's a stupid idea.
It is a horrible idea. Yeah. Stadia, Google came out and they did their little presser thing like the Thursday before E3, and they're talking about speeds and all this kind of stuff and pricing and everything else. And it's like, oh wow, this sounds really great. It's like, okay, we're gonna have 5.1 audio, HDR, 4K, blah da 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 da, but you have to have a 35 megabit up and down connection. But
yeah, that's not going to happen.
Oh no, I'm getting to that.
Yeah, my immediate response to that, even being as tech illiterate as I am when that stuff was still a giant.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. It's like they're like, but you can have as little as a 10 up and 10 down, and still get 720p, and that was it. And 60 frames per second. That was the other selling point. 60 frames per second. Okay, here's the thing though. When you look at average internet connection speeds in America, just America alone, the average is between 13 and 15. And the only way that people are going to be able to get these speeds of 35 up and 35 down, and we're talking best case scenarios, people are like right by the fucking, the substations that, put the signals on, all that kind of stuff. Because otherwise, this is just not going to fucking work. Mm-hmm. And then you have, and then aside from all that, you have issues where you don't actually download anything. It's all in the cloud. So if your power goes out, if their power goes out, if there's a break in the line from construction, if any number of myriad of scenarios occurs, you cannot use this service. It is completely fucking buggered. There's nothing you can do with it. So it makes no fucking sense. And it boggles my mind. Like,
it makes sense. Yeah.
No, gamers don't want this. Gamers want a tangible, now with digital, like as far as like digital downloads, you have the idea of owning the thing where where games are basically you're buying a license essentially, but you can still play it offline. Like if your internet goes down, your phone goes down, or whatever it is, you can still play your games. Google Stadia, you can't do any of that with Stadia. It's ridiculous. And the idea of playing a multiplayer game on a streaming service, are you fucking out of your shit? Like, oh, there is no gamer on earth that is dumb enough to fucking do that. Like,
I can hang on. I can, to counter your point, Scott. I can tell you where this market is, right? This market is going to be what we're starting to see happen with Switch, where they're essentially upscaled mobile games that can be played over the Stadia, right? Because, you're talking, it's like, okay, well, with network latency and everything else, you're not going to have stuff that's going to be, time sensitive, whatever else. I'm like, no, but you're going to get all these gacha mobile games
for sure.
Scaled up running on the Stadia, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the market will be.
Yeah.
But even then, they're not looking at the usual gamer crowd. They're looking at, again, everyone else who plays all these other little mobile games. They can now play them on that streaming thing.
Yeah.
And, make money that way.
And the other thing was too, they're like, and this is something I find really funny. They're like, Google Stadia, it's the future of gaming. I'm like, they are absolutely right, because in the future this may be viable, but right now it's just not.
No.
I mean,
well, the thing is, Google is basically going to be leveraging the mobile app store they have now and all the content on that to push it out via the Stadia. Right? That's where the market is. Right, the thing is, they're going to get people to, buy the console and then pay,
Well, it's only a controller, but and a Chromecast.
buy the hardware, then pay $10 or $14 a month or whatever it is for the, and I'm like, it's just it'll be I don't see it getting. It's going to be on the same thing as the same tier as the Nvidia Shield, right?
I don't think it's as good as the Nvidia Shield. Honestly, I don't see I sincerely, I do not see there being a market big enough to sustain this and make it a viable thing. I cannot see it, because, I can't speak for you guys, but nothing about this sounds good to me. Nothing.
No, it doesn't appeal to me in the slightest either.
No.
Yeah.
I basically was curious about what the hell they were trying to do, and once they actually started talking, I'm like, that's never happening.
No.
Yeah. Absolutely not. Gamers get like, and they're trying to say the gamers are going to love this. This is great for the gamers and the players. And they kept saying gamers and players.
Oh God, it reminds me of that fucking clip from Flash Kids, where EA and that pile of money, the gamers, they won't let me have it.
Yeah, but they kept kind of belaboring the point about the gamers. Gamers don't want this. No gamer that I know of that I've spoken to and spoken about this with wants this, because they know it's a bad deal.
Yeah, but it brings back memories of the Ouya.
Yeah, actually, wait, did I say that a minute ago? Because I was going to say, if I didn't, I was going to. Yeah, the Ouya was this. I see this failing along those lines.
Yeah,
it's one of those. It's like them saying the constant, "Oh, game is this, game is that." I felt like saying, "Yeah, that word doesn't mean what you seem to think it means."
Yeah.
It's just every time I'm listening, I'm just seeing. It's just if you haven't watched it, look up the Flash Gets one about the bloody Anthem release. It's like the gamers, that pile of money, that's my fucking money. The gamers, they won't let me have it. Every time I'm just seeing, it's just the executive, just like, no, the gamers are gonna love this. Yeah, the gamers. No.
Yeah, no. I think this is Google expressing their hubris in the worst way possible.
Any others before we move on?
Oh,
Doom Eternal. I'm happy. I'm so happy we get Doom Eternal. I get to shoot things in the face.
Yeah.
I got one thing I want to chime in about. My second. Go ahead, Wombat.
No. I'm just happy that we're getting Doom Eternal.
Are you just using on that?
It looks absolutely great, and it looks absolutely great, and really, I'm pumped, and it's coming out in November. So it's like
it's awesome and sweet and cool.
Yeah. Go on. What's your last one, Scott?
Well, this one is actually something I'm kind of surprised about, and we've talked about this before, as far as like the way that Microsoft is expanding their platform and turning it into a brand instead of a console per se. I am really shocked that they're going all in on this. Like we're seeing the Master Chief Collection coming to Steam. Like we're seeing all their first party titles coming to Steam.
Yeah,
PC, and like it's like people want to badmouth Microsoft and stuff. It's like that's they obviously when they launched the Xbox One, there was a lot of problems with the always on thing and the
I remember it. I had it,
all that crap, right? There were other issues, but but man, what they're doing now, I gotta say, man, I'm pretty fucking impressed. Like the stuff that they're doing with Game Pass, the stuff that they're doing putting games on Steam. I'm actually really excited about this because come Christmas, I plan on. I mean, with what little funding I do have, I'm gonna try and introduce some people to Halo that have never played it before because they've never been a part of the Xbox ecosystem, as it were, never had the chance to, and that excites the fuck out of me. Being able to play co-op Halo with people, with my buddies and fucking hanging out, fucking playing Halo. It's like
hanging out with the boys, drinking Monster White. Oh, Scott has become a boomer. He's become the 31-year-old boomer.
I get his point because
so many positive memories of doing that, though, and this is just this is something that I've dreamt of being able to share with people that haven't ever played before because it is something that is very big as far as my gamer history, if you want to call it.
I'm of the same mind as well because I only got to play Halo 1, 2, and 3 because I had a friend that had them and we had downtime where we could actually play co-op.
Yeah.
And I really got into the general story around the Halo universe. But I've only ever been able to play those co-ops once for each of the games and nothing more since.
Yeah, because I mean, I had an Xbox One shortly after they launched, and I want to say that a lot of my memories about it are positive, but they really weren't. Because the Kinect was functional when it chose to be.
And that's a early piece of equipment.
Yeah, and the exclusives just weren't there half the time.
Yeah,
and
thin on games, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the one game that I was looking forward to was Scalebound.
And, that's coming out though again, isn't it? Isn't it coming out on Switch at some point?
I don't know. Obviously, it was supposed to be an exclusive to Microsoft, and they needed it. And when they shit canned it, I was blown away. And even my wife, who's not a gamer, but she loves watching me play, she looked at the trailer for that game and even the footage, and she went, "This looks amazing." And when it was gone, and I told her, she couldn't believe it either because there was just not enough out on the Xbox to play.
Yeah, it was very content-wise.
Yeah, because I remember I was playing Dying Light, and they just released the following add-on for it. And one day, I just was so unimpressed with what was coming out. I put down the control pad, and then 2 months went by, and I never touched it again. I got rid of it.
Yeah,
and
that's the way I am with my Switch. I played halfway through Breath of the Wild and haven't touched it since. It's been probably a good year since I've even fucking looked at it. Just just nothing on that platform for me.
Yeah, but it's like I say, it was just so disappointing in the end, and I can't look back on it positively now. So I think perhaps they're doing this expansion to try and get themselves some more money, not because I'm losing my words here, but I think they're doing it because there's not enough coming out for it.
I think that's part of it, but I think they see the way the future is going, where consoles are becoming, I don't want to say consoles are irrelevant because
Mm.
I don't think that's ever going to be the fact. Because I think that consoles are always going to meet a price point for consumers that don't want to invest in high-end PCs, but they also see the fact that PC is a very, very big market for gaming, and that they can take the brand, the Xbox brand, and transport it to other places, whereas they can't do that with the console Xbox. Which is like with the what I was saying about the Game Pass stuff is actually pretty interesting. I lucked into a deal where I got 3 months of it free, and then I got another month of it for $1. So I've got like on 2.5 more months of Game Pass right now, and I'm playing games that I would never buy because I just don't have the disposable income for them. And I'm getting ready to play through. I'm going to play Quantum Break, which is something I was mildly curious, but I heard it wasn't good. But still, I wanted to check it out. I'm going to check out Vampire. I'm going to check out. I got a whole list of shit that I'm going to check out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. Void Bastards. I actually really want to play that. It's on there, but like for the money, it's a pretty damn good value. I mean, it's like
because also you got to take into account how often they release consoles and the new versions of these consoles. I mean, obviously with the Switch, that's not exactly much of an issue. But PlayStation, there's been like 2 versions of it. You've got the normal and the slim. And then
they're coming out with new versions of the Switch next year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're coming out with a more powerful one. Well, part of it was because the security got broken, and they're doing a new iteration of it. But they're doing a. Apparently, it's going to be a portable one with the Joy-Cons actually attached to the side, so it's basically like a big ass DS essentially.
Yeah.
Then they're doing a more powerful version. Then they're doing an updated version of the regular version of it. So iterations are coming out.
But then you look at the Xbox. You've had the One, you've had the One S, and then you've had the One X, which was something like £550 over here. Yeah. And 4K game files, you could only fit 10 on there in one go because of the memory. But, as you mentioned, Quantum Break. I mean, that file was bigger than most 4K files, so spacing was going to be a massive issue on those consoles. So where they're porting stuff to PC, it's a good idea because obviously PCs have got far superior memory for these sorts of things.
Yeah, I've got right now I've got a 2 terabyte that I'm in the process. I'm actually downloading games to it right now because I ran out of fucking space. So I fucking made room on this guy for stuff. But the game files are pretty fun. But I'm sincerely surprised at the moves that Microsoft is making. They're very forward thinking in this regard, as far as like getting games out onto a lot of different platforms and opening up their ecosystem to other areas, which is pretty exciting for me personally. Because like I said, I want to get other people involved and maybe share some of the fun times I've had with the games I've played on the Xbox with them. Yeah, I think that's fucking great. Because finding good co-op games is always a hard time. Like, obviously there's things like Left 4 Dead, but that's fucking old as fuck now. I mean, there's other co-op games, but there are far fewer really good co-op games out there than there are, other things.
Okay,
so it's always,
let's really discuss. I get it. We love you.
All right.
I apologize.
Don't worry about it. Okay, so we'll go over some of the games that have been released this year so far and talk about their pros, cons, and whatnot. And of course, we can't start with anything except Anthem, which is without a doubt at the moment the strongest contender for biggest shit show of the year. To sum up,
with me now. I told you so.
Yeah.
Come on, with me.
Sorry, what?
I'll do this short introduction, then you guys.
We all told it. We all Anthem was going to be a fucking garbage.
Yeah,
fire.
Everyone thought this was going to be a garbage fire. No one thought this was going to be a good idea.
Essentially, a rush production after a trailer that turned out to be completely misleading, and the game was basically a whole lot of nothing and repetition. This was bad. I knew this.
And they actually were actively patching it to make it more repetitious.
Yeah.
Did you guys actually play it though?
No, I went nowhere near it.
I played it. I played the free 10-hour or whatever thing. I got about 2 hours in. I was like, Jesus, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It's like the few people that remain loyal are now bailing on it because they're like, you took away everything that we were holding on to go, this is okay, this is okay, this is fine, this is fine. Oh, no, we're done. I'm done.
Yeah, but abandoning it. Why can't I say that? They're chicaning it too, though. They've fucking like thrown away their roadmap for the future.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
like,
basically just going to hobble along until like for a reasonable amount of time, and then they'll pull the plug on the servers.
Yeah, because essentially it was a very bad progression system with some terrible grindy loot drops.
Purposefully grindy.
Yeah, purposefully grindy, as we later found out.
It was
and
shitty,
then
like,
when people figured out the whole, I can do, if I do this sort of looping around and whatever else, the loot system's actually good. Oops, we better nerf that.
Yeah, because there was a game bug that was introduced through an update that increased the loot drop rate. And those still playing at that point were reporting how much fun they were having at the time until BioWare patched it. The player base has bled out since release, making matchmaking exceptionally difficult. And as I think Scott said it, the roadmap has been delayed as a result, so they can try and sort the game out if they can.
No, the roadmap has been deleted.
They abandoned.
No, they've deleted the dates off it. This stuff's coming, but they've deleted any dates, any hard dates to it.
Yeah, because I remember it appeared on the PlayStation dashboard for pre-order, and I thought, I wonder how much. And they advertised the whatever it was Ultimate Edition at £80. I went, fuck off, and didn't go anywhere near it.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's like I'm pretty sure what's going to happen. Excuse me. I'm going to go out on a limb here and hazard a guess that the game is going to go free to play by November.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'll say November.
Yeah, it's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I mean, the footage I saw of it, I mean, the flying around looked amazing, and the scenery looked gorgeous, but it just looked boring.
Look, you can put a whole bunch of icing on a pile of shit, but it's still going to be a pile. Yeah, you bite into it. Yeah, and it did. It looked great. It looked awesome. There was see, that's the problem with things like with video games now, is that people create the idea of what they think something is going to be.
Yeah,
and the fact that game companies don't put out demos and things like they used to back in the day.
Yeah, which is a real shame.
Yeah, that is because they know that marketing in somebody's mind is better than any demo will do. They will sell more on the idea or the promise that somebody has made to themselves about how good a game is going to be than showing a demo or letting them play a demo.
Yeah.
With Anthem, its biggest thing that I saw right off the bat was a lot of pretty, but no substance.
It's absolutely what it was. It was just an mind. It was
that's a big problem. That's a big problem that's been happening a lot with games of late. They're like, oh, look how gorgeous and expansive and this, that, otherwise. And like, what can I do in it? What's the story? Like, so what in here is going to keep me coming back?
Yeah.
It's pretty.
It's like the Ubisoft problem that I always talk about. It's like Ubisoft always talks about their huge, expansive maps. The map is so big. Yeah, but what's there to do?
Yeah.
What's in it though?
It's like they love how big their maps. Like, I want to know about the story. What do I do?
And also,
the map. There's different. There's snow and there's rain and there's desert and wow.
But also with that, I'm like, that's nice. But why would I want to go there or there or there? What's my motivation for trudging my character across this map that's basically equivalent to half of Australia to get to this other thing? Why?
There's nothing.
And what am I going to encounter anything in between that's going to be anything interesting where I'm not going to be bored out of my mind halfway?
Yeah.
Well, not in Anthem. That's right.
Yeah. It's like, because pretty only gets you so far.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go on to the next one then, and this is where I get to gush. I don't usually talk about remakes at all because I don't like the idea of remaking stuff, but the remake of Resident Evil 2 came out this year. And I bought this. It's the first time I bought a brand new game for years, and it's fantastic. It actually did have a demo, which they did a timed release on in December last year.
Yeah.
And that got people talking, and I watched the footage, thought, I'm buying this. And I managed to get a copy, and it's fantastic. At the time of this stream, over 4 million units have sold, either physical or digital. I can't gush about it enough. I mean, the story DLC they did for it was free. All the cosmetic DLC was, you didn't need it. It was all reasonable priced. I mean, the one that I did pick up was the soundtrack swap, which swapped it for the original Resident Evil 2 soundtrack, and that was a nice touch. The zombies in the game are fuckers to put down. You can't just headshot them because they get back up again, and it takes 2 or 3.
2 or 3. That's a conservative number.
Well, that's on.
Christ, I was playing the demo. I put like 6 or 7 shots in those.
Yeah. I mean,
I was like, "Good fucking Christ, come on!"
There was one that I put down, and he kept sitting back up, and I shot him in the head 4 times. That eventually put him down. And even the cat I was playing as Leon, even Leon went "fuck off" when I shot him. But the story is brilliant. It's really well written. There's no cringy lines or fourth wall breaking shit in it, which I loved. The voice acting is also fantastic. They cast. There's no one there that you'll know. It's all newbies as far as I'm aware, and they do a fantastic job. The setting is amazing because you've literally got to walk around the dark corridors with your flashlight, and you've got to be careful where you aim it in case you miss a licker walking along the ceiling.
Oh, and the flashlight actually looks decent.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's one of the things that always fucks with me in games. It's like they can never figure out how to do a flashlight because usually there's like this one bright spot right on the wherever you're pointing, and everything else is pitch fucking black. But like the light in that actually looks really, really solid. It's really good.
It's also clever because he doesn't have it attached to his gun. He has to hold it underneath his gun as he's aiming, or just holding up as he's walking. But then there's the best part about this game, and that's the new improved Tyrant, or Mr. X.
Oh, Jesus.
He's a bastard. He is an absolute bastard to deal with. Because funny enough, when I was playing through the first campaign as Leon, I was stupidly thinking he didn't appear till the second campaign because that's how it went in the original. No, he comes into both campaigns. And usually you get like a cinematic to introduce the new boss or something, your usual games. No, he just turns up. And he turns up in a very dramatic way, like, oh, shit. And you've got to run because if you shoot him, he really doesn't like that. And you can put him down, but he'll just get back up again.
Yeah.
And if he gets hold of you or he punches you, you're going to lose a lot of energy. Yeah. So you have to avoid him. And obviously, the same with the zombies. If he knows you're in a room that he can come in, he'll come in. He'll open the door and like, oh, fuck off. Obviously, he won't come in the safe rooms and a couple of select rooms in the campaign. But if he appears, you literally hear his footsteps coming, and you have to hurry with what you're doing, otherwise he catches up with it. And you sometimes fuck up what you're supposed to. Yeah, but you fuck up what you're doing because he's chasing you, and you have to circle around and do it again. And hope he doesn't catch you.
Yeah,
but I can't wait for the number 3 remaster to come out when they
I can't wait because
stars.
But it's a fantastic game, and at this point I'll do a special mention to whoever it was on the PC that did the mod that swapped Mr. X for Thomas the Tank Engine.
I don't understand this. He's in everything.
Yeah, but it's one of the funniest
now that
fucking things I've ever
has suddenly got a new meaning.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I saw the footage and I burst out laughing because it's so fucking funny.
People in their fucking trains, man. What the hell?
Yeah. But but it is an absolute fantastic game. And obviously, because I'm on PlayStation, I'm going to do my best to platinum it. But yeah, I was singing Capcom's praises for this because they did such an amazing job. And as Wombat said, it looks like another redo 3 with the Tyrant, Nemesis, and that will be worse.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, but obviously, just 2 campaigns, about 3-4 hours length each, and then you switch around and play them in different order. It never gets boring. So this was my game of the year so far, and I can't praise Capcom enough for it.
Oh, wait, are we moving on to Game of the Years now?
No, but I'm just saying it figuratively at this point.
Gotcha.
And this next one is both strange and a tad controversial, and that was Metro Exodus. The game was obviously overshadowed by being made an exclusive for the Epic Game Store. And when people kicked up with threats to boycott the PC release, someone from the company threatened that if the game didn't do well on PC, there wouldn't be any more for that platform.
And everyone just went, okay.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Wait, that was one of the devs, one of the junior devs at the studio
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
then
that was
didn't
one
one
of
of the
those-
senior devs came out and they corrected the person, though, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they?
I
don't
know, but damage done. It was one of those statements you never made, because then you have big old Shenron come down and basically say for all the masses of games, your wish is granted.
It's like, oh, really? Is that so, friend?
Yeah. Now, obviously, later on, when talking about how well the game sold, THQ's Lars Winglefors revealed the game sold the absolute majority on consoles, but shifted 2.5 times more copies of the game on Epic Game Store than Last Light sold in its entirety on Steam, which is amusing, I suppose. But it was just such a strange release, that one.
And also, it was a very good demonstrator of things not to say in public, because gamers are not very forgiving people, and they will take you, whatever you say, they will take that and immediately go, okay, then we're done here. Oh, we're going to come crawling back and apologize now? That's a bit late. Maybe should have thought of not flapping your chops and saying things you didn't mean, or if you did mean them, just not say them at all.
It's reminiscent of Battlefield 5 when Sutherland said, if you don't like it, don't buy the game. And everyone went, okay.
Yep. That's
Again,
fine. Your terms are acceptable.
Again, another case of Shenron coming down, basically going, your wish is granted.
Yeah. All right. And the next one was Sekiro. Your typical combat game. Peter knows where I'm going with this. From Software. But the game was overshadowed by the news that Game Analyst had claimed not having an easy mode in the game was a disrespect to players.
Oh, get fucked.
Yeah, and then another one wrote how he used cheats to beat the game's final boss, and
he used cheats to beat the game.
Yeah, and he was ridiculed to death on the internet for it, and quite rightly so.
As he
rightly so.
He used cheats to beat the game, and he didn't feel bad about it. I believe.
Yeah.
Like, you're pathetic.
Yeah.
Really, you're allowed to say the game's not for you.
Yeah.
You're allowed to go, this is not my kind of game. I'm not really like playing it. I'm going to move on to something else.
Well, here's the thing though. I got into some guy's ass about this. I think he works for IGN. I can't remember what Ryan something or another. He was going on a little cry festival on Twitter about you know how hard it is to get these games with 2 days before they come out, and then you have to play through the entire.
I remember that.
Then you have to write.
I remember that. Yeah.
Again, I'm making that certain hand motion.
Yeah. Because this was because someone said to him they should make a game journalist difficulty. Was that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
Games journalist level of difficulty, which you just hit a button to say beat game.
Well, here's the thing though. Fucking Kojima did that with the fucking chicken hat in the fucking, what was it, Phantom Pain or whatever it was, couple years ago. Mm-hmm. But here's the overall point though, is that that guy went on a little cry rant along with all these other fuckers that went on their little cry rant about, oh God, it's so hard being a games journalist. Poor us. But here's the thing though, if you look back, if you go back into those people's histories as far as like the kind of articles that they write and the kind of content that these people create, they have been doing this for I don't know, the past like 5 to 10 years now, I guess, or 5 to 8 years, maybe somewhere around like that.
Yeah.
Where they keep pushing this thing. They keep pushing this idea of games need to have a difficulty slider. They need to have this, that, and the other. But when you look at what they're saying, and that guy Ryan from IGN let it slip that, this is about us needing to meet our deadlines.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out and flatly said it. But they keep couching it in other things. Like,
they keep couching it in accessibility. And that was the funny thing. When he was having that cry rant, you had people turning up going, hey, I literally have no arms and I've beaten the game in less time. You just suck. And just seeing like these people who have all these physical disabilities, I'm a quadriplegic, like basically I have to play the game with my mouth. I still beat it in less time. Right. And the game's just going block. I'm like, look, I understand you guys are time poor. You've got to fit in your requisite amount of sexual predation before you amongst your game reviewing. There's only so many hours in the day that you have to do games review, eat, sleep, and molest children.
Oh, come on.
Trolling for those 11-year-olds takes time.
That, or basically constantly going after women on the internet going, "Milady, please head pats, I beg the boy."
Yeah, may I have a crumb of coochie? Yeah, so no, again, fuck
It's like,
those
look,
guys.
milady, I'm shitting all over this thing, and look, milady, I'm making these gamers cry.
Here's
God.
Here's the problem though, and I think this is a real legitimate problem that when people do call these guys out for this stuff, and I kept pointing out, I kept fucking sending that tweet out to people that Ryan guy from IGN posted. I was like, dude, you're not fooling anybody. And I'm like, you're not fooling me, especially because I worked in the fucking industry and I know how this shit works. But the problem is that people aren't holding these fucking, bloggers, these pseudo wannabe journalists, assholes to task for it. And you have people coming in and white knighting for these people.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it's usually they're friends of the rest of it. And the thing is,
that's the point. Is what I'm saying is that we're not holding them to task about this stuff enough. But
we have no ability to. But the thing is, there's absolutely no point. We've got no way of holding them to task. I would say the best that anyone can do is just basically block their sites, never consume their content, even ironically, and just destroy their market reach.
That's what I'm getting at. Is that then the only way to really react this way is to cut the purse strings, and and gamers just have a problem with that. It's like it's like as much as they know it's a bad thing, they want to pre-order stuff. As much as they know it's a bad thing, they're going to do all these things that are against their best interest, like supporting these sites. And there's not an alternative than cutting off.
Gamers are getting better at it, especially after everything that's been shown up with Gamergate. A lot of these sites, especially once Gamergate had its run, was done, and the normies in gaming started seeing things for what it really was.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these lots have not recovered to anything of what they used to be as far as their clickbaiting and whatnot goes. They're all floundering.
I mean, I hope, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the truth or not.
It's just it is. It's just a slow bleed. It's just not. They're just not bleeding out as fast as we'd like.
Yeah, we'd like them all to basically be gone tomorrow, but unfortunately, there's still too many people out there and too many young people coming up now who just don't know any better.
Well, there's that too. New generation of gamers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The new generation who don't know any better don't realize what they're doing until it's either shown to them flatly, or they finally just sort of grow jaded enough, like the rest of us all are, to click on to what's going on and stop being baited into this crap.
Right.
I've got two more games to talk about. And this one is a really strange one because it just came and went, even though it was supposed to be a big release. And that was Rage 2.
I was never expecting that. It's a Walmart version of Borderlands.
Well, the thing is, I looked at the trailer because every time I watched a video for YouTube, there was a trailer for it popped up on the adverts. Like, okay, it's coming out. I get it. And then I heard nothing more about it. It just since you slipped away. I mean, Peter and I were talking about it, I think it was early this week, and I said we're going to mention Rage 2 in the stream, and she went, "That's out."
Yeah.
And I just found that so bizarre.
Like people were putting up reviews, and I was like, "Wait a minute! I thought the game came out like 6 months ago and just died instantly, but it came out like a month ago and died instantly."
Yeah.
Like that just shows.
I don't get about it. It's just real quick. Is that did you play Rage 1? Because that game was terrible.
Why is exactly? That? I was going to say it's like Rage 1, from my memory, tanked pretty hard fairly quickly. So who the hell thought it was a good idea to a Rage 2? No one talked about Rage 1.
When they originally announced they were doing Rage 2, I'm like, why are you making a second one? No one wanted the first one.
Yeah, because I played it on the 360 back in the day, and I don't remember. The only thing I remember about it is the vehicle combat. It was a lot of fun, but there's no memorable characters. The story wasn't fantastic. It was just meh at best.
It was just a bland, boring meh.
Yeah,
it's like there's 3 guys. Shoot those 3 guys. Walk 20 feet. Go shoot 3 more guys. Now,
don't get me wrong. Also, now I think about it, I like the wing sticks that you could get in the game because they were fun. But it was just
I don't even remember that. I just remember it was just brown, and I shot 3 guys at a time. That's all I remember about that game.
But again, I just remember seeing when they announced it, and I'm like, this is valuable development time that's being taken away from Doom Eternal.
I just remember seeing the first trailer for it and initially going, Rage. Rage 2. When was there a Rage? And I actually had to sit there and thinking like, oh yeah, there was that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That kind of was very, very
Yeah.
And no one really speaks of it. No one really ever talks of it since. There's no nostalgia around it. There's like people completely forgot about it until they suddenly go, Rage 2, there's that and otherwise. And everyone's just going, well, huh?
Because I remember also when I had it on the 360, you got all the achievements in one go, in one playthrough, which was like, that's not a great sign. So I got it and got rid of it. And then a year later, they brought out a story DLC for it. I thought it's a bit late to do story DLC. And then when I bought a game in my local game shop, they were giving away free copies of Rage with certain games. And that was one of them. I'm like, what do I want this for? And it's so bizarre because you don't really see them giving away what I assumed was a high-profile game at the time, but it wasn't. It was just so weird.
Kind of like what they did with No Man's Sky when they first got released. And copies of that because nobody was buying it.
Yeah.
Fucking. But you know, the first thing I thought about Rage 2 was when I first saw that, I was just like, this makes about as much sense as making Brink 2. Like,
oh god, I remember that.
Nobody asked for this.
Yeah.
I just remember another thing of seeing the trailer. First time seeing the trailer for Rage 2.
Yeah.
My first immediate thought was Tumblr is a game.
Yeah, yeah. Because the artwork
just from the aesthetic, the colors, and the whole.
Yeah.
You're like a 40-year-old trying to be grunge.
Yeah. Because I remember looking in the same game shop, and you could tell something was up because he'd got like the special edition, whatever it was, and they were selling it at much less than they were before. And I remember going to the counter and saying to the dude, "Is this worth buying?" And he looked at me, shook his head slightly so his boss couldn't see. And I'm like, "Okay, all right, cheers for that." And I didn't go near it.
You know what's funny though? You know what's really funny about Rage is, and it's kind of emblematic of what's going on in gaming right now. Is that for the longest time the complaint is, "Oh, your game is all gray and brown and orange."
Mm-hmm.
Like, put some color in it. It's like, and like most things, people overcorrect. And Rage is a prime example of this overcorrection where it's like, oh, now we're just going to fucking throw up a rainbow all over everything. For
it was more than Rage 2.
No,
it was just vomit. It was pastel vomit.
No, Rage 2. No, it was a case of, let's take every single garish color that basically wants to burn your retina clear out the back of your skull and put it all in one scene.
Yeah. And you know what the thing is, though, too, is like, just to kind of compare it to another game that it's not exactly the same, but I think it was a game that did it right, was Sunset Overdrive.
Oh,
it was very colorful. It was very saturated, but it wasn't ugly and distorted. And
I had that.
Yeah, you can do that. It's a matter of mixing the right color palettes in the right amount so that all that bright color is appealing as opposed to I want to claw my eyeballs out. Oh god.
Yeah, it's called art direction.
Like a unicorn basically came in here and spooged everywhere.
But Sunset Overdrive was like, I thought it was a very colorful game. It was a
fantastic game. I enjoyed that fully.
It was a really good game, but it didn't have any replay value. Once you went through it once, it was kind of like, okay, I did it.
I remember.
But like they did it right. They did the colorful thing. The game was beautiful. It ran fucking great too for all the hell that was going on the screen. That never chugged or slowed down or anything. It fucking
I'd say Sunset Overdrive was one of the best releases on the Xbox One.
Yeah. The only problem was though, it was kind of funny, is because like, you know, I'm an old school punk kid, right? And fucking King Buzzo showed up. I was like, wait, what? I was like, all right, cool. I mean, I know who that is, but 99% of motherfuckers ain't gonna know who the fucking he is, man. I was just like, I mean, it's cool for me, but every other motherfucker is gonna be like on Google, who the fuck is this dude?
Yeah.
So that was just kind of a weird thing, but I thought it was neat, but it was just like, it was very strange though.
All right, so for the last game on the list, and I think probably one of the most touchy releases this year for what we're about to go into, Mortal Kombat 11. Now,
they're still making those games.
Yeah, I'll go through the good points to it first before we jump on it. Apparently, it had a good story for the campaign, as they tend to do with Mortal Kombat.
I disagree.
I'll get into that. Hang on. The combat tutorials were apparently a lot better than they used to be. And then the crypt, even though it was as contentious as it was, they had a nice touch because it was curated by Shang Tsung. And they actually got the actor who played him in the movie to come and do it, and I thought that was a nice touch. But then you get to the bad side of things, which sadly outweigh it. Towers of Time mode broken upon release, which targets in most cases were nigh on impossible to achieve.
Without buying things, and that was by design.
Notorious grinding and progression target walls, similar to mobile phone games, including, of course, premium packages for premium currency to use in the crypt and the store. Loot would be randomized and impossible to find in the crypt, but occasionally could sometimes be found in the store to buy. How about that? And the grinds pissed off fans that much that NetherRealm was forced to patch it to lower the challenge targets as a result, and rewarded more currency in the game. Yeah, it wasn't great.
Don't forget that horrible Jax ending as well.
Oh, with the woke where he goes back in time.
We was Kangs, yes,
literally.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've seen some footage of it, and the challenge modes were the most notorious for me because you got one bit where you've got to do 3 throws or something in this game, and you got 2 ice walls either side that are moving in. If they touch the player, they freeze. But the walls moved in so quick you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And
badly designed game with it was just basically it was designed around getting people to buy shit.
Yeah.
And the fact they had costume packs, that was something like $75 for a costume pack. I'm like,
yeah,
that's gone beyond. It's just cosmetic too. We're gonna basically rinse you for every single dollar we can possibly squeeze out of you and then some.
But yeah, I mean, you see some
you're
of the
gamers,
targets.
you're idiots. You'll pay anything we give to you because you're just salivating for all this stuff that we'll just roll out there to you, right? You'll pay hundreds of dollars for the most ridiculous of things because it's pretty, right?
Yeah, I mean, it made me laugh because I watched the Angry Joe review of it, and obviously what your opinions of Angry Joe are, fair enough. But he was showing the bit where he was looking at some of the targets to unlock stuff, and one of them was like 75 brutalities with Raiden to do something, and he was going, "I don't even do brutalities. How am I supposed to get this?" And obviously, Angry Joe's been accused of being a massive shill over the years, and I don't know if he still is.
He still is. Yeah, he is. It's like not always, but he's enough of a shill that people are like, yeah, we take everything now with a huge grain of salt.
Yeah.
They actually do the math on that and find out like all the microtransaction stuff came out to like $2,500 or something.
Yeah,
I
think that was the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was close. I think it was something like 1,800.
Yeah, some ridiculous amount.
Yeah, and the thing is, someone posted. The funny thing was, someone posted it on Reddit, and then one of the senior devs for the game or something turned up and went, "Rah," and went, "Really? Dispute this?" And he wouldn't dispute it. He kept moving the goalposts. And people, he's like, because, "Oh, so there's
off the stuff during the game," but but then somebody I think came back and like, "Okay, yeah, if I have the next 6.5 years to play it every single day, I can unlock the stuff." You know, it's like,
yeah. It's like, sure, I could earn it in game if I have absolutely no life, no sleep, no food, no nothing, and just play this continuously for the next God knows how many years.
Yeah.
Some of the percentages were something like 0.003% chance of getting some of the stuff. It's just like, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's not set up to make you just buy the fucking thing, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, it made me laugh also. I mean, the DLC characters that they were bringing out for it were more appealing to me than the ones that were in the game. And obviously the DLC pass was, I think $30 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd buy it for those characters, but I'm not paying that package. It's ridiculous. No way. Because obviously you got Spawn they were going to put in there, and they'd actually done the clever step of getting Keith David, who voiced him in the cartoon, to do it for the game. I thought, okay, that's a nice touch. Yeah. And I thought, okay, I like that. And then they apparently are going to get Ash from the Evil Dead in there, and I thought, okay, I like that as well. But again, it's DLC that's more interesting than the game itself.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, because previous Mortal Kombat, which I did have on the Xbox One, because again there was fuck all to play on it. They'd got Jason Voorhees, the Predator, and then they brought out the Alien, and then
they have Terminator on it too at one point.
No, I don't think they've done Terminator on it. They had also who was it? Oh, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I thought those are some clever additions. But again, the content, the extra content was more appealing than the game itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
I don't play fighting games, and I just that kind of stuff, like those extended packs and all the other kind of bullshit. And it just doesn't. I've just never been one for that.
Yeah.
It used to make fun. It used to make sense back in the day, where again you're sitting around with a bunch of your friends and you're all playing each other, and it's nice to have novelty characters and things like that.
Yeah.
But
we're
Mortal Kombat
and unlock those through play, though. Paying for stuff. It's like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What was the other controversy relating to this? I seem to remember something about people getting into fights with the dev over. Oh yeah, and there was always the accusation that they were toning down the sexy in the MK characters and getting into fights with the dev about it.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
They took generally appealing characters and turned them into bricks.
And a lot of the cosplay community were really unhappy about it as well, because they liked the sexy, Mortal Kombat characters.
A lot of the women like to dress up as things like Sonya and that, and it's like, look at me, I'm powerful, sexy. I've come from a game where I can literally rip your spine out through your throat. And now I am basically look like a 40-year-old boomer.
Yeah, she looks like a Karen who wants to see your manager.
Yeah. It's like toning down the boobs is one thing. It's like, fine, whatever. But making them conventionally unattractive, like purposefully making them not even just just generally attractive, but actively making them not even appealing.
Yeah.
In appearance. I'm like, okay, you're deliberately now there's one thing toning the boobs down, and it's another thing deliberately making them unattractive.
Yeah.
We've got to stamp out.
Whereas the male characters were still, Adonis levels of chiseled, etc., etc.
Adonis levels of chiseled, so much skin showing. It was a case of borderline move the wrong way, and you're going to get an eyeful.
Look, we got to stamp out the male gaze. We have to stamp out the male gaze. We have to, because women are not going to be safe because of video game.
All right, so are we ready to have a debate to finish this on?
Oh my.
Right. Okay.
I don't even think this is going to be a debate, but yes, let's have this.
Right. I appeal for calm.
More or less a clarification, I think.
Yeah, I appeal for calm on this one. All right. Crunch culture. It is now very much a thing and has been for quite a while in the gaming industry. Numerous stories have popped up this year and last of excessively harsh working conditions within certain companies to get games out, quote unquote, on time. And I've got a few examples here, but I'll hand it over to you guys to give general opinions before I go through the examples. So, Scott, you go first.
Ooh, I'm going to be unpopular.
Go on.
All right, we'll get this started, I guess. Well, I'm of a bunch of different minds on this, because I've been privy to things having worked in the games media industry. And let's see, I'm going to say something that's going to be, it's probably going to go over like a lead balloon, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think it's true. I think part of the reason that crunch culture exists, and I'm not saying this solely, but I think this definitely plays a factor into it, is because of gamers. I think for a long time, gamers were very.
Hang on. Hold on. Let him finish.
You'll have your chance.
Yeah, let him finish.
I think for a long time there was a perception within games making that gamers wanted things and they wanted it now, and the market was in a way feeding this problem where game companies they're fighting for dollars, and so they, crunch culture became partially an issue because of that, because they wanted to get your money in. And I'm not saying this is solely the fault of gamers, because obviously it's the games companies, the producers, that are actually the ones that make the decisions in regards to these sort of things. But gamers' lust for new experiences and such played a part in it.
Yeah.
So I think that's an issue right there.
I have to mute my microphone to stop my teeth grinding.
Okay, Wombat.
Well, hold on, not done yet. One more point though.
Yeah.
But saying to that though, I don't think all gamers. It's obviously not a thing.
Yeah.
Across the board, because when the Division was coming out, I'd been playing in the betas and the alphas and all that kind of stuff before it ever came out, and there was the problem with the hackers and all this kind of stuff. And I had occasion to speak through an intermediary to people at Ubisoft about like what we wanted to have happen with them as far as like releasing the game and fixing the problems.
Yeah.
And we had everybody who was in there talking to this person was of the mindset of, you know, if it takes longer to come out and come out correctly, we don't mind. We would rather have a game that isn't fucking filled with exploits and problems where hackers are coming in and destroying the viability of the being able to play the game, which was happening in the Division when it first came out. So there is that. And I think I was very pleased, I guess. I was very happy that they were actually looking for the kind of feedback that we were giving them, and they were receptive to it. So it's, you know, this is a nuanced discussion. This isn't just, oh, it's because of this or because of that. You know, it's not, you can't really attribute everything that's happening to one cause. There's a lot of things that are obviously playing into it. The economics of gaming, the, you know, Wall Street wanting their money by a certain time because they got to meet quarterly earnings reports and all this, that. There's a lot of nuance into this conversation though. But yeah, so there's that. I mean, I think there's a lot of blame to go around, and obviously crunch culture is fucking terrible.
Okay.
You know, I mean, putting anybody through those kind of conditions, it's, you know, we talk about slave labor, and it's kind of like, you know, it's tantamount to that.
Okay. One back. Do you want to counter?
I want to counter. Yes, I do. Okay, putting on my hat as a professional project manager, right? Crunch culture is, in the gaming industry, I'll give everyone a little bit of background first. You've ever heard the old adage, fast, cheap, good, choose two. That is the basis of project management, right? So, and this is taught in professional, you know, serious business schools with project management. Your three points of a triangle: cost, scope, quality, right? Or it's going to be time, scope, quality, you know, some variation on that. Crunch culture in gaming is entirely the fault of the studios who are focusing on keeping their costs low to try and maximize their profit. I will actually disagree with you, Scott, that gaming as customers, are overwhelmingly quality focused. And when companies come out and say, hey, we're delaying this game because we want to make it good. And for example, just this week, Nintendo came out with Animal Crossing and said, hey, we're going to delay this by 12 months because we don't want to thrash the ever-living shit out of our developers. And the community overwhelmingly went, okay, that's fine. I disagree that you've got the gaming crowd who are pushing companies. I honestly think that's disingenuous on the gaming company's part. It's easy for them to blame the consumers. Oh no, they wanted it. I'm like, no, you just wanted to you wanted to thrash the shit out of your employees to keep your costs down, right? Every time you look at a game, the gaming community is overwhelmingly quality focused, right? So if you, and again, CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk, it's ready when it's ready. Right. And again, there have been a couple of grumblings out of CD Projekt Red's development studios about, but I would say looking at the number of people they employ versus the number of grumblings you've seen, I'm willing to put that down to a few, basically, disgruntled employees.
Yeah,
but you look at their glass
here for a second, because one of the quotes I've got is from CD Projekt Red, where they have described crunch as the time when I quote, where the magic happens.
Yeah, and but hang on. But crunch in project management, crunch happens. I've worked on projects where we've been crunched, right? Mm-hmm. Crunch is not just a game development thing. And in project management school, they tell you that yes, you can crunch. However, it's a huge cost to your staff to do it. And basically, for every hour of crunch, it's going to take them 1.5 hours to recover back to what their previous productivity was.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're doing this, you need to know that there is a cost. And if you're wanting to maintain decent staff and maintain productivity after the project crunch, then you're going to need to allow time for it. What we're seeing from places like Rockstar, we're seeing, all these studios where they're doing this crunch. Is they are just basically treating their employees. It's a meat grinder. They're just grinding through their employees with no actual care for their welfare.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're turning around when when they get criticized for it, they're turning around and blaming the gaming customer base as a way of deflecting from their own terrible practices. And I do not buy it for a second when they do it.
Peter, you want to chip in on this?
Yeah, perfect case in point of blaming everyone else, but their own practices is Anthem.
Yeah, I'm going to read that out shortly.
Yeah,
that
was the perfect case of the companies basically pushing and pushing and pushing, and this was the breaking point of how much can we make these people work within a set time period to get out a game that we want to pump out as a AAA. With Anthem, they essentially wanted a game that would normally have a minimum dev window of 2 years and 6 months.
Yes, that's right.
To the point that when they did the EA release and was showing that lovely flashy trailer, their own devs were sitting there confused going, we're doing that? Wait, that's part of the gameplay? Yeah. Is that gameplay? What?
Yeah, I remember.
And they had to make that. All the while, the studio was saying, yeah, it's going to come out in this date. Aren't you all excited?
Because obviously...
That's where crunch culture turns into from us. It's kind of a necessary evil. Like, a lot of industries have it, and it's just something you can try and plan for as much as you can, but you simply just can't avoid it.
Yeah.
Versus plain evil, where you're all just about, we're just turning our staff into slaves, and we're basically going to ride them into the ground, toss them out, and bring in some new fresh meat from the local universities and everyone. They're literally pumping out all these students going, yeah, you're going to get these awesome jobs. You're going to get to work on all these awesome games. You're going to have great careers. And you're going to be burned out in less than a year to 2 years because of these studios will basically snap you up as interns at the bottom end, ride your ass until you're crying, and then once they're all done, just toss you out and pull in the next fresh blood of meat.
Yeah, because I mean, some of the examples I'll go through here, obviously Anthem, as Peter said, although this was more BioWare's fault than EA's, it caused developers to take, and I quote, stress leave, while others found private rooms or cupboards in the building to lock themselves in and cry because of the stress. And the stress and depression was reported as epidemic within the company. And the same company referred to employees who suffered stress so much they were gone for months or never came back as stress casualties, which is a term often used with the armed forces.
Yep. And I will also think is I've been on the receiving end of burnout. Now, burnout is a thing.
Yeah.
Right. I was working when I was living in Canada. I was working and just for a company where I was working 50-hour weeks, and that's not including travel time when I was trying to get around the far north of Canada, right? So I was getting up to working close to 70, 80-hour weeks. Burnout is essentially prolonged chronic stress, and it nearly hospitalized me. It took me years to recover. So, when they're saying, oh, yeah, we've got this whole thing where we've got employees hiding in cupboards and people just this is people cracking under the strain, right? In military terms, this is when you're seeing a bunch of people turning up battle sick.
And also why you're seeing an increasing prevalence of younger, like relatively young people suffering from things like strokes.
Yeah.
And suffering from heart problems, suffering from liver problems, kidney problems, stomach problems, like ulcerations and whatnot, simply because they're under so much stress, their body is literally starting to shut down.
I mean, also, Mortal Kombat 11, as you've mentioned, NetherRealm had its developers working 100-hour weeks. After a former developer spoke out, James Longstreet, who worked for a couple of years at NetherRealm, described extra hours as mandate and had to be on call when he had time off for a friend's wedding and his birthday. Describing the shifts as starts of 10 a.m. and finishing at midnight. The bosses, of course, would go home after dinner. And the former QA tester, Isaac Torres, described crunching for 4 months straight with 100-hour weeks. According to him, one staff member actually fell asleep on the couch in the office, so they'd not risk falling asleep while driving home. Obviously, we've mentioned CD Projekt Red, and you've got two more I'll mention here before we carry on. Epic Games revealed to have employees working 100-hour weeks to maintain Fortnite. Some of which would break down in tears during shifts, be fired for not putting in more hours, and even have their contracts renewed, they didn't put in extra hours. Contractors who were brought in from outside were often referred to as bodies. Yeah. And even Rockstar Games obviously revealed a while ago that they had a team working 100-hour weeks on Red Dead 2, the company itself was actually described as having a culture of fear and very litigious towards anyone who dared to go after them.
Yeah, and that's, I was going to say, that's also a running problem, is because some people sort of shove it back in these people's faces and like, well, you choose to have that job, and like, yeah, but you also got to remember, it's like it's a choice, but it's also in the way things are these days with jobs. It's a case of I either suffer or I starve, and me and potentially my family end up on the streets.
Just for context,
and also the way some of these companies are, they won't just let you go, let you walk away. They'll hang some shit over your head to say like, yeah, you can quit. However, we're going to do X, Y, Z, or we're going to take back this bonus or this whatever else.
Or they'll have a non-compete in your contract.
Yeah,
that too.
But just for context, when we say 100-hour weeks, just for context, that's working 14 hours, at least 14 hours a day. Works out to be about 14.5 hours a day. Now think about that. That's not commute time. That's not everything else. You're literally at the office 14 hours a day. So say if you start at say 6 a.m., that means you finish work at 8 p.m., right? And then you've still got to fit the rest of your life around that. You've still got to have all the other stuff, drive, commute to and from, manage your life outside of that, right? No wonder people just break and go nuts, because they just get no socialization time. They get no downtime, right?
Well,
and even, hang on, both of you stop for a sec. Even if you look at military stuff, and again, I was watching a thing on Lindy Beige talking about a soldier effectiveness and the studies they've done. They've gone, soldiers can really, at most, be crunched for about 100 days, right? And then their effectiveness drops off rapidly.
Yeah.
So you now think of these poor bastards, and this is soldiers under combat. But again, you look at someone who's working for a studio or something like that, you're crunching them for years on end, right? So they're all ending up, with the equivalent of, and as much as I think the term's overused in PTSD, but they're just ending up just chronic stress, and it just breaks them.
Okay, Scott, go.
Well, what I was going to say was Peter actually pretty well nailed it on the head when she was talking about the fact is that you have, all these kids that are coming out of school looking for jobs that just aren't there. You have a workforce that is being trained that is probably 4 or 5 times larger than the available jobs that are out there. So you have companies that will, they basically turn into a meat grinder, and they just grind people up and spit them out and get new people in because they can hire them cheap and just put them. And like she said, if you don't work, you starve. That is the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And I've read plenty of.
Just to clarify one thing real quick, when I said that gamers are to blame for it, I think gamers played a part in it. And I think that is obviously it's becoming less of an issue now because people are made more aware of it, because it is a real legitimate problem now that we're seeing the rotten fruit born from it. But I think gamer culture is so voracious, and like especially like I saw like when I worked at Destructoid in the late 2000s. From 2006 through 2010, where you had all these small websites like that were coming to prominence that were voracious. They're just insatiable, like pushing that. Oh, we want these games and we want them now. And again, I'm not saying all gamers are like that. Obviously, everybody's not. I'm not trying to paint with that broad of a brush, but I think there was a moment in time where that was the culture, where everybody was feverishly clamoring for the next big thing. And companies,
still disagree with that.
Hang on.
I mean, just quickly, I actually think that's more a function of the game sites themselves wanting content. That is no reflection of. Hang on, it's no reflection of the gaming consumer. Let's separate the two.
No, it absolutely is, because those people were gaming consumers. They were part of the gaming community.
No, I disagree. Games journalists, with the exception of yourself, have never really been part of the games community.
Yeah.
Just comment on it.
Come on, dude.
And also on especially with these,
I'm calling total bullshit on that. That's because like having worked there when it was coming up, these weren't like, because these were people, like most of the people that worked at Destructo were people that came up from the community. They are all gamers. Well, I mean, this was in the past. Obviously, things
not in the past, not now.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. I'm making a very clear. I was making a very clear distinction time-wise.
All right. I apologize.
Now we're talking about very circumstances. Obviously.
I find the most insidious thing right now with this current culture, especially with these studios, is We've got all these up and coming potential talent who will never go anywhere because they go in, get their taste of reality. They go in young, fresh, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, get their taste of this reality, and then just immediately turn around and go, and I'm never ever touching anything of this ever again.
I should have been.
It's true because there's a huge amount of young people who start with game stuff, get burned, and then end up going into other careers of various types of, like, especially art careers to do with concept art and that for movies, TV, and all that, where they could have basically been the next, essentially, Picasso when it comes to game design, but because of this crunch and this burn, they're now being snaffled up by something else.
Sorry, Hunt, having worked in VFX, if they think VFX was going to be any different.
Dude, you know what? I almost went into that. When I went to school, I went for fucking computer graphics back in 99, 2000, and I quickly got over that, man. Holy shit.
I've worked in the movie VFX industry in Vancouver, and I've been on crunch, right, where they're doing rendering and the rest of it, and like I literally couldn't go home in case something went wrong with the render farm. So I would literally be down in my IT server room and sleeping on the couch, and they'd poke me if they needed me.
Yeah, right. No, we had to do that when it came to our final projects at school. When we had to sleep in the computer labs because if the computer fucked up or hit a glitch, you had to fix it because, like, well, I mean, you know, obviously, because you've done it professionally. But like a friend of mine, my roommate ended up working for Lucasfilm, doing.
They literally hire, like, again, you get the big boys will literally hire people to sit there and babysit renders.
Yeah.
Right,
but
that's all I
do. Getting a taste of that though, just being in that school environment, I was like, oh, I can't live like this, man. You go into the fucking computer labs, and you see people that have been in there for 3 and 4 days, and they just
you smell them before you see them.
They were fucking wretched. Oh. Yeah. I was
but that's always a red flag for if you're ever going for a job with a company and they go, oh yeah, we have, like, you know, in-house catering and laundry services and with foosball paper. I'm like, run.
Like, why do you have that?
Yeah, because you are never going home. Right? That's the point. They offer all those services because they expect you to be there 14, 15 hours a day. Yeah, right? You companies who offer that, I'm just like, nope, I'm out. Bye.
All right, then. So to finish this off, then, what can we as consumers do about this whole thing?
The only thing we can do, which is not reward companies who do this bad behavior with money. That's literally the only power we have as a consumer.
Yeah, it's like, remember the motto of Gamergate: close your wallet.
Yeah. Right. You know, that's literally the only power we have.
Don't give them a red cent. If they've proven to basically be doing everything that you're against, don't give them a red cent.
Yeah, but you know what though? That brings up another sticky situation though, in that you're taking away people's jobs potentially. I mean, look what happened with fucking Cliffy B's studio. He fucked over his whole fucking studio, and those people got screwed massively.
Yeah, but that's an unfortunate thing for any business of any kind. That's an unfortunate side effect.
Yeah, no, I know. There are victims in this though.
Yeah, but hang on. We can't be held responsible for studio management doing shitty things to their employees. Yeah. What we can do as consumers is say no. And the best scenario I can think of here is eggs in Australia. Right, because they had this big campaign here against battery hens and hens being kept in cages and treated horribly, right? And they said basically what you can do is buy free-range eggs. So, you know, and what happened is all the egg producers moved over to free-range stuff because no one was buying the battery farm stuff. Even though the battery farm stuff was cheaper, people are going, no, I'm actually going to make the extra effort. I'm going to buy the free-range stuff because I don't want to buy the battery farm hen stuff. Right. What we can do as gamers is turn around and go, no, we are not going to reward studios that do this to their staff. Also, and here's my other argument, is studios that crunch the shit out of their staff generally produce bad games. Anthem, etc. Again, we need to send the message to studios to say, no, we are quality focused, A, quality of product, but B, you need to treat your staff, not treat your staff like, indentured slaves. And if, as long as the studios communicate to the consumers properly, like we've seen other studios do, right, we accept a certain amount of crunch is inevitable, but you should not be. It should not be a standard business practice to
Right,
make
it
your
shouldn't
staff
be when
worth
the magic
40.
happens or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, again, and that mentality, the consumers need to turn around to the studios and go, no, don't do that shit. If you're going to have to delay something by 6 or 12 months so you don't have staff just literally going mad and fucking their lives up.
Yeah, pulling a
right?
Fox.
Yeah. I mean, again, what we haven't seen, I guarantee, how many of these, crunch episodes, how many people have died because of it? And I guarantee there will be deaths, right? There will be suicides. Over this stuff. There will be, severely bad mental. How many of them have died driving back on the way home from work? Because they haven't slept properly in 3 days, and it gives the equivalent BAC of, it's equivalent of them drunk driving, because they've done this research with doctors as well.
Yeah, or ended up with some sort of severe injury or debilitating illness that basically takes them out of the workforce for the rest of their lives anyway.
Yeah. I don't know if the gaming community has the God, what's the word I'm looking for? Do they have the will? I mean, do they?
Oh, again, if they're made aware of it, and any time, and the thing is, when this stuff has been made, the gaming community has been made aware of this stuff, they've overwhelmingly reacted positively towards hang on. They've overwhelmingly come out in favor of the people developing the games, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And you then had the games press, the current modern gaming press, defending the studios, and everyone's like, yeah, fuck off, Shill. But no, when gamers are made aware of it, they overwhelmingly come out in favor of the rank and file people working in the studios, because a lot of gamers themselves work, big, long, heavy jobs, or long hours and the rest of it, and they can empathize, right?
I just hope they can sustain it.
Yeah, because
that's a possibility.
Yeah, because a long time ago I was working what was called job and finish hours, where I'd start at 1 PM. This is way before any of us met, and I'd sometimes get home at 2 o'clock in the morning because of where I worked. And there was one guy who actually had an accident on the way home in his car because he fell asleep at the wheel. And he was all right, but it scared a lot of us.
Yeah, I've done crunches. I've been on a project where we literally had to. It was a changeover for equipment at a postal center, right? Big processing center. We shut the place down at 5 PM on a Friday. We literally had to get it running by 3 AM on Sunday morning, because that's when that shift came in, right? I ended up working 17-hour days that whole weekend to get it. We got it done. But then I got back to my boss in Melbourne and I went, I'm taking next weekend off. And he's taken one look at me and gone, okay. Because my eyes were hanging out of my head. I was just exhausted. And he's recognized that we've gone over and above to make him look good, right? So everything went to plan. We didn't have to shut down a processing center for an additional day. It was due to fuck ups beyond his and our control. And we've just bent over backwards to make him look good. And he's gone, great, yep, take next weekend off. Right? Because I was just burned out, and he recognized that. So again, a good project manager, if you really like your staff and you want to maintain them, you do not grind them like that, because they'll leave, whether they be walk out or are carried out. You've lost good stuff. And I agree, Scott, that it's very much an employer's market out there at the moment, and I think a lot of unscrupulous studios are exploiting that. And again, you see the same thing in VFX. With the second Sin City movie, they had problems where the rotoscoping got screwed up because they outsourced it to India. They literally went to Vancouver Film School, just grabbed all the graduates and, hey, you're all going to be rotoscoping stuff, and just thrashed the shit out of them. Right? For them, it was cheap, but it got the movie done.
And this also comes down to with that as well. It's like talent. You can't retain talent with that kind of with that kind of behavior and treatment. The talent will go where they're appreciated and where they're actually paid what they're worth. And even then, there's a line of what I'm worth to be paid versus how much you're going to put me through before I snap. Hence why a lot of these studios now, especially like BioWare and that, are failing because they've hemorrhaged anyone worth their salt, because they've driven them out or driven them into the ground to the point that they've just quit the industry entirely. Or
they've got, the studio themselves has a reputation, and Rockstar has this, of being, having a quote unquote crunch culture at the studio. So you're going to have people, you're not going to get the good talent. You're going to have people going, yeah, I'm not doing that. right? You'll have the younger ones that manage to survive the first 3 crunches, and then they do the mental maths and just go, my health and mental welfare is not worth this, and will not go and work for studios with an infamous crunch culture. And with places like Glassdoor, etc. now, it's very easy to find out whether those studios are like that or not.
Scott, you were going to say something?
Yeah, well, here's another component that we really haven't hit on is the fact that the problem with these larger studios is they're beholden to investors.
Yeah,
and investors are always going to push for this stuff. But that is the biggest roadblock to this being solved, is that you're always going to have these people that are like, we want our money, we want it now.
Yeah. Yep. And I run into that in project management all the time, Scott. And that's the job of the producers, to push back and push reasonable timelines and say, yep. And my argument would be to the investor, we want to spend our money now. I'm like, well, that's nice. So what, again, you're sacrificing short-term, a long-term profit, long-term future of the studio for short-term profitability. Okay. Right. And again, that is going to kill studios. It's killing EA. It's killing BioWare and EA are the same thing. It's killing Bethesda.
It's killed BioWare.
Yeah. It's killing Bethesda. So again, the investors, in the long term, these studios are going to die because of this investor mentality. And I'm like, well, that if that needs to happen, that needs to happen. It could be that the Wall Street model for this is incompatible with game development. And
it is.
It is. And if that's the case, the studios have to fail, and we get, fine.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
And that brings up
in long term, it's better for everyone.
That brings up the next point, though. Is like, is this going to lead to another crash?
Yes.
Because I think it seems very possible.
We're rapidly heading that way, considering so many studios are failing on epic proportions with returns on gains because of this behavior. Yeah. And so many have shuttered in the last few years. Even their regional, external studios from main ones are shuttering, and all these other studios basically getting bought up, then killed off. It's getting at such a rate that it's accelerated die-off.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the history of even to the last 5 years, the number of studios that are shuttered or are about to is ridiculous compared to the last 10, 20 years.
Well, yeah, most of that is on account of EA. I mean, Christ, they
are a big factor in it.
The last couple of years, Jesus Christ, Visceral.
They are a big factor in it.
Oh my God, so many.
But my argument for this is yes, we're getting this crash of these studios, and I would overwhelmingly argue this is a good thing, right?
Well, yeah.
It's one of those deaths that need to happen.
Yeah. And the thing is, I will qualify that is that I genuinely feel sorry for the rank and file people who may lose jobs because of it, or will lose jobs because of it.
Yeah.
But in the long term, they'll find good roles elsewhere, and it just basically gets the bad actors out of it. So these poor bastards aren't doing 14-hour days for 2 years straight, and then just ending up in a psych ward because of it.
Well, and here's something I can see becoming a positive from this if it does cause a crash. If large AAA companies do crash, if that's an inevitability, then that may lead to a renaissance of AA and single A type games.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
There's too much.
It's kind of happening already.
Let me finish my thought before I forget.
It takes so long. Hurry up.
All right, let's wrap this up now, Scott.
But it may lead to this, and something we talked about earlier was that the internet has facilitated this kind of thing to become a viable option, and I think that's kind of exciting. Even if AAA does take a shit and we have a fucking crash, I think it's very exciting what might come of that potentially.
Okay.
It reminds me of a quote. It just reminds me of a quote. Is the young bulls have chased out the old bulls. The old bulls are dead, but the young bulls will inevitably become old bulls. In that, we'll see the death of the existing AAAs. Other companies will replace them. AAA is never going to go away because there's just too much money in it. So, as the bigger guys move, the AA's move up to AAA, and then others will come up and fill that void. and the cycle continues. But the current crop of AAAs, yeah, pretty much, right? So yeah, we have a short crash in the short term, but life will go on. There's always going to be games out there. I mean, again, you're looking at it. It's a 60-something billion dollar industry at the moment.
Yeah.
And then once the legislation coming down the pipeline to smack loot boxes and gambling like behavior around,
which we will cover at the end of the year.
Yeah. You're going to see another massive restructure, but I think that legislation is going to hasten the decline for a lot of the big AAAs because they're in the process of pivoting to mobile. And I think they're going to, basically swimming to the mobile island. They're going to, by the time they actually get to the mobile island, you're going to have that legislation in place, and they're going to have to swim back to the normal gaming island. I don't think a lot of them are going to make it back.
Yeah. All right, Peter, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll have to agree on that whole thing. It's like indie games are kind of filling in quite a big niche right now for a lot of people that the AAAs just can't and won't do with certain types of games, especially little wholesome games like myself. I started playing Stardew Valley because it's a nice little wholesome thing, and there's not a whole lot of commitment needed for it to play. And start and stop as I please. And there's not a whole lot of AAA games these days that you can just start and stop as you please, and
that's right.
Don't require a huge time sink to get anywhere in, or feel like you've made progress. So yeah, this is a cycle of things. This is how things will happen. It's always how it's been. It's just a case of this lot have been sitting high and mighty for far too long. So that's why we're noticing this fall coming much harder now than it has maybe since like the 90s when it's had a similar fall. But this crash is going to be much heavier than the one in the 90s, and it's going to be much more noticeable. But it needs to happen.
All right. We all good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much to everyone for joining us for the mid-year stream of Gamers Talking. I'm very much looking forward to next week and some of the topics we're going to cover in comics and movies. But until then, thanks very much, guys. See you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.